What's good, y'all? It's your boy Muhammad Sanu. We here live at the Trail Report. You know what I'm saying? My boy C Hill. Y'all better stay tuned. You heard? Bing talk.
So the NFL headlines are banging today, and for good reason. Because if you did not know, you're about to find out. Myles Garrett and A.J. Brown have new teams as of today. If you did not know, Myles Garrett is now a member of the Los Angeles Rams, and A.J. Brown, like we've talked about previously on this channel, it was speculated to happen, and it happened. He is now a member of the New England Patriots. So shout out to A.J. Brown and Myles Garrett on their new destinations. So we're gonna talk about both of those trades today. Very interesting stuff. Starting off with the major surprise, in my personal opinion, was Myles Garrett going to the Rams. And first off, let me say this: congratulations to Myles Garrett, for actually now being on a contending team. The Rams have won Super Bowls. They actually have a winning culture, more so than the Browns. No offense to any Browns fans, or anything like that, but they actually have a winning culture. They've won the Lombardi Trophy. They've been to Super Bowls. They've been in big moments. They've been to the playoffs. They're not in a situation like the Browns have been in Myles Garrett's tenure with the Browns. Now, the Browns have had some up moments with Myles Garrett being there. They went to the playoffs a couple times. Well, excuse me. They went to the playoffs, excuse me, a couple times. One time they looked, in my opinion, I think the best run they had in the playoffs was probably the one with Baker Mayfield, where they played the Kansas City Chiefs, and that was probably their best run in my personal view when Baker Mayfield was still there. That was probably the only time in Myles Garrett's tenure that I felt like they actually, I guess you could say, were what's the word I'm looking for? Um, were, I guess you could say, compatible as far as winning. As far as winning was concerned, I thought they were best compatible with that team when they had Baker Mayfield, and they were able to beat the Steelers the first round, and they went on to play the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost that, but I mean, losing to Kansas City, that's not really that much of a downgrade in my view. But so that was their best tenure as far as having Myles Garrett there, in my personal view. But now he's on a team to where they've won Super Bowls. They've been in the playoffs. They've been consistently in the contending picture. They're always competitive as of recently. So now I feel like he's rightfully where he needs to be. So now his stats can actually, for lack of a better way to say it, now his stats can actually be better, I guess you could say, appreciated, because now the team is actually good as well. So, but before we get into Myles Garrett's side of it, shout out to the Los Angeles Rams, man, because one thing I respect about the Rams, always have and always will, especially this recent, oh, I guess you could say this recent addition, this recent version of the Rams, like this new, like, ever since they went on the Super Bowl run, like this new version of the Rams. The one thing I love about the Rams, in my personal view, when they say that they're trying to win, or when they get like a hunch that, okay, we were that close. If only we had this piece, or if only we had that piece, or we're only one piece away. Whenever they get into that situation, they go get that piece. They don't get into this whole pondering thing. Like, I feel like, no offense to any other NFL teams, because my NFL team that I'm a fan of happens to do that as well, which is the Atlanta Falcons. But other teams kind of ponder, they kind of ponder and be like, it'd be great if we had that other piece. If only we had that other piece that could get us to the Super Bowl. And we're only one pass rusher away. We're only one wide receiver away. We're only one good running back away. But they just kind of ponder, and they just kind of dwell, I feel like, in the fact that they're one piece away. The Rams, nah, they don't do that. The Rams, they say, okay, we were one piece away from getting to the Super Bowl, or we're one piece away from winning the Super Bowl. They go get that piece. They don't care. They go get that, no matter what it costs, no matter what they got to give up. They go get that piece. They get that piece in the building and say, okay, now we no longer have to wonder. We no longer have to wonder if we had him, if we had that pass rusher, if we had that running back, if we had that quarterback. No, they go do it. They go get it done. They get deals done, and that's the one thing that I respect about. Well, I respect the Rams as a whole. I love their organization and like the. I feel like I love the Rams. I feel like culture, especially like I said, the newer edition of the Rams. I like their kind of. They feel like for whatever reason, they feel like a laid back, kind of chill but good team to me. So I always this recent edition of the Rams I rock with. But anyway, the Rams, the one thing that I respect about them the most is the fact that when they want something done, they don't wonder or just dwell in it. They try to go get it done as quickly as possible. So it's no longer a thought. It's no longer a what if. It's no longer a distant dream. They go make that dream a reality. And that's exactly what happened in my view with the Myles Garrett thing. Them going to get Myles Garrett is the perfect. If we had that piece, we probably would have got to the Super Bowl. He's the perfect piece. If we had a Myles Garrett, I can picture the Rams in the front office right now. They probably was yesterday in the office like, you know what? If only, or like early this offseason was like, oh, you know what? If only we had a Myles Garrett. You know, if we had a Myles Garrett, we probably would have got past the Seahawks. If only we would have had a Myles Garrett, man, because we was in the game. We just needed like somebody to really enhance the defense in those moments for us, because we were right there. We had a great season. Like, if only we had a Myles Garrett. And instead of dwelling in that, they were like, you know what? Somebody pick up the phone and call Cleveland. Let's see what it'll take to get this deal done. Oh, it'll take Jared Verse and a couple picks. Okay, cool. Boom. They sent that, and they sent that wire, like using bank terms. They sent that wire, and boom, Myles Garrett was on the flight to LA. That's what happened. They get deals done, and I'm gonna say this right now. Myles Garrett will pay off. He will pay off. I cannot wait to see, especially because he's going to have time to get. It's not a rush thing. That's the one thing I love about this trade. It's not a rush thing. It's not a thing of kind of like rushing, because that's the one thing about like middle season trades that I don't necessarily, I guess you could say, like. I don't like the mid-season trade part for the player, because the player has to adjust and do all this adjusting mid-season with no real time to just be like, okay, let me get myself together and then see how the team operates, and let me figure out, how I kind of blend in with everyone. Mid-season, you don't really have a chance to do that. If you're extremely fortunate, the football gods will allow you to have a bye week after you get traded, so you kind of can adjust after that. But what if your bye week is like 5 weeks away after you get traded? So you still got to adjust kind of on the fly until you get to that bye week, to where you can kind of have a moment to kind of breathe. And that's only a week. I like trades like this, like the Myles Garrett and A.J. Brown. I like trades like this when the player has time to adjust, and they have time to, really get familiar with the team, really get familiar with the environment. They can find out who their teammates are, find out how their teammates play, and then they can find out how they blend in. With Myles Garrett, I feel like he has the opportunity to do that. Now, he's already, he's a Hall of Famer already. He's, in my opinion, first ballot Hall of Famer already. So in his situation, one of the things that he has to focus on is just making sure, and I hope the Rams are, in my opinion, kind of stressing this, or really like, kind of trying to really emphasize this point. Don't try to make Myles Garrett someone else. And I don't feel like the Rams would, because one thing about the Rams, if you don't notice, and a thing about the Rams that I always have liked as well, when they do get star players, in my opinion, they let them be star players. Like, they let them be, who they let them kind of cook. Like, they let them be who they are. So I don't think this will be a problem at all. But the one thing, if they needed to kind of like get some, I guess you say, extra motivation for how they want to use Myles Garrett, just let him be Myles Garrett, man. Don't stress about it. Don't worry about, well, if he, Don't worry about too much. Just let him be Myles Garrett. Okay. Let him be Myles Garrett. He holds the record for the most sacks in a season. Okay, so that should already tell you he don't need no one really motivating him like that. He's self motivated. He does his work. He's quiet for the most part. He does his work. He grinds. He make his money. He go home, and that's all you really got to worry about with Myles Garrett. He gonna come to work every day and give it his all. That's all you got to worry about. Myles Garrett is a great player. You don't have to push him or feel like that you have to use any extra motivation to get him to a point. No. Let Myles Garrett be Myles Garrett, man. Myles Garrett, over his career, just a couple accomplishments for you guys. I can't go over the whole list. We'll be here for hours if I go over all the stuff he's done in his career. But just a couple accomplishments for Myles Garrett. In 9 seasons, 293 solo tackles, 125.5 sacks, 6 fumble recoveries, selected to play in 7 Pro Bowls, won 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, just to name a few. Once again, all-time leader as far as sacks in a season. So, he did that just last year. It's so much that he's done. And in my opinion, he don't even have. I know he had the helmet thing a while ago with the helmet thing, hitting the player with the helmet. But outside of that, he really doesn't get into controversy. He just does his work. He's a workhorse. He does his work. He comes to work, does his job, and then as long as he's winning and as long as he's doing his job, he's good. That's all you got to worry about. Don't worry about trying to change his style or any. Just let him be Myles Garrett. Just let him be Myles Garrett. And let him do what he do. As far as Jared Verse going to the Browns, I think it's a great opportunity. I do. I feel like it's a great opportunity for him because I saw a lot of great things last year. I don't know if you guys necessarily agree or disagree, whatever. You guys can let me know in the comments below. But I really enjoy what I saw from Jared Verse last year. So I think that this is a great opportunity for him to just kind of go be in Cleveland. And it's all about perspective in a situation. The perspective that I would have as far as Jared Verse is concerned, I would look at it as the Browns kind of, in a way, the Rams did too, because they're kind of a young and old, kind of like they're an older team, but they're experienced, but they have room for younger players to grow, which is a great situation for younger players. But the Browns might fit Jared Verse a little better because Jared Verse in this situation, let's just call a spade a spade. Jared Verse in this situation is coming over from the Rams, going into the Browns locker room, and the Browns haven't done anything close to what the Rams have done. So Jared Verse now has that experience of knowing what it's like to have a good season and knowing what it's like to get to the playoffs and knowing what it's like to be a couple steps away from the Super Bowl. So he knows these things. So he kind of comes in with the view of being kind of a semi-veteran kind of, but also still a young player, so still room to develop and get better and be even more great. So I love his perspective of this. It's all about perspective. I think he should look at that as a great opportunity to come in and be the workhorse guy like Myles Garrett was for the Browns. So that's the view on that. But overall, I like the trade for both sides. For Jared Verse, like I said, it gives him an opportunity to kind of be the semi-veteran in Cleveland. Because one thing they do need in Cleveland is they just need workhorse, ready to grind, ready to work players, because the culture there is so, I would say, noisy. It's so noisy in there, and something seems to always be, from the outside looking in, I'm not a Browns fan, but something from the outside looking in, something with the Browns always seems to be kind of going on throughout the course of the season or the off season or whatever. They need a player, or they really need players, but Jared Verse can come in and be that player that can come in and just be a workhorse player like Myles Garrett was, just come to work every day, grind, inspire the people around him, and just be that kind of player full of life for the Browns. So the Browns need that. And on the Myles Garrett side, Myles Garrett finally has a place to where he can contend and win games like he's been vocal about wanting to do in Cleveland for years. He's been vocal about wanting to actually be competitive and actually want to be in the playoff picture. Now his talents will actually be in a place to where his talents for lack of a better way to say it, will mean something because he can get the 23 sacks and he can get the the tackles for loss and the sack records and everything. He can do that, but now also he can look forward to the postseason after the season. So I like that whole situation for the Myles Garrett trade or situation. Now, as far as the AJ Brown situation, we talked about this earlier on the channel a couple weeks ago, or maybe like a month ago now. It was a report that came out that said that trade was kind of in jeopardy because there was kind of some speculation going on about Coach Vrabel and everything. But now that the trade has happened, like I was talking to someone in the comments about, I really think this is a thing of, as long as AJ Brown is happy, this is a great move because he's reunited with the coach that coached him in Tennessee. So that familiarity is already there. And let's just call a spade a spade. You can say what you want about A.J. Brown. I know he was criticized in Philly for not giving full effort or whatever. Or, some people in Philly felt like he wasn't playing the best he could or whatever. So he was kind of getting criticized for that. And in the playoffs, him and Sirianni kind of went at it because he said he was just telling him to get off the field. But the confrontation did not look like that. But that's what he said. But so him and Sirianni kind of went at it, kind of saying that AJ wasn't giving full effort or whatever. But as long as AJ is happy being in New England, you're going to get the best AJ Brown. And regardless of what people say about his full effort or whatever, AJ Brown is an extremely talented wide receiver. Do not sleep. Don't let the criticism of what's been going on or what's happening with him recently negate the fact of how talented he is. AJ Brown is an extremely talented physical receiver. And I feel like he can do nothing but help a quarterback like Drake May, who needs another receiver that he can rely on. He needs another guy that he can go to in those clutch moments. I know he had Stephon Diggs last year, and Stephon Diggs stepped up in those big moments. But you honestly need another guy that can kind of take some pressure off as well. And AJ Brown can be that guy, no problem. He's been that guy pretty much, kind of fill that role pretty much all his career. If people thought he was the number one or maybe 1B or whatever, he always was that guy that you can kind of look to in those moments to where you kind of need something to happen. If you get the football in AJ's hands, you can probably bet that some good things will manifest themselves, for lack of a better way to put it, if you get the football to AJ Brown. That's just my personal opinion. I love AJ Brown. I love his playing style, how he plays, and I think he can do, once again, nothing but help Drake May. And if he's happy, then that's all that matters. That's the thing that matters most above all this stuff. Is the player happy? I feel like the AJ Brown being around his coach, being the fact that he's away from the criticism now, away from the pressure of having to come into work and deal with people who pretty much are, I wasn't in his situation, but what it seemed like was coming to work and dealing with maybe some people that didn't agree with how he was playing or agree with how he was playing the game that he's loved. So you don't want to deal with that going to work every day. So for him to be in a different situation with a team that, once again, just went to the Super Bowl, they're AFC champions, I think if he's happy, this is a great opportunity. I can't wait to see how this actually shapes up for A.J. Brown as well. Because A.J. Brown, like I said, don't let the criticism and all that fool you. A.J. Brown, just let you guys know, 3-time Pro Bowler, obviously a Super Bowl champion, in 7 seasons, 524 catches, over 8,000 yards in his career, 58 touchdowns, and once again, 3 Pro Bowls and 1 championship. So, not to mention that don't get it twisted on this either, because sometimes this kind of gets hidden under some things. He had a lot to do with that championship as well in Philly, so don't get that twisted either. So, if he is happy in this situation and takes this situation seriously, which I'm sure he will, because A.J. Brown is in my eyes, my personal opinion, he is a professional, right? He's a professional football player, but I mean, as far as how he carries himself, he is a professional in my view. If he takes his situation seriously, this is a great opportunity. If he's happy, he's enjoying it, this would be a great opportunity for not only him, but for the Patriots to get even better. Who knows, if they got to the Super Bowl last year, if they handle their business and actually, go into the season knowing they got that target on their backs, knowing you went to the Super Bowl, so everybody's trying to get to where you were last year. If they can go into it knowing that and kind of having that already locked in and knowing that it's not going to be an easy season at all, if they go into it like that and somehow manage to just like replicate that same grit and grind and hustle they had last year, who knows? They might not only make it back to the Super Bowl this year, but who knows? Who's to say they may not win it this year because they got another receiver that has won the Super Bowl before. He has that experience. So it's just a thing like that. But for both of these trades, for A.J. Brown, for Myles Garrett, I love both of these trades. For A.J. Brown, I feel like he can help the Patriots get back to the point to where they were last year. And for Myles Garrett, I'll be honest, with the way I felt when this trade was announced, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Myles Garrett to the Rams, I might go out on a limb and say the Rams probably got a great chance. I ain't going to say a number, but they got a great chance to hoist another Lombardi trophy this year. That's what I'm just going to be real. Matthew Stafford replicates some of what he had last year, and the Rams take it seriously with Myles Garrett on the defense. Oh, yeah. They have a great chance of raising another Lombardi trophy. For real talk. So I love both of these trades for both of these teams, both of these players. Let me know what you guys thought about these trades in the comments below. But one thing you can say is it was no lack of excitement in the NFL yesterday for sure. Yo, it's me, Chill from the Chill Report. If y'all watched the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to come back next time. Before you leave, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Become one of the chillest players in the game. And I'm out. Peace.